Good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen, townspeople. This is the 5:30 beginning of a meeting of the Foxborough Personnel Board. This meeting is being recorded for posterity.
It can also be attended via Zoom.
Okay, on our agenda, review and approve, we don't have a quorum, we're not going to do that.
Okay.
Excuse me, welcome to a new member of our board, it's Carrie Weston. Thank her for her volunteerism.
If I
In
could say-
attendance will also be
For her.
Mary Beth Bernard and Paige Duncan, our acting town manager. Okay, we're going to discuss the remote.
Katie's on Zoom.
And Katie is on Zoom, I'm sorry. Okay, first item then, we will discuss remote work policy. Now, have you ladies read it?
I have.
And Mary Beth, would you like to discuss it?
Sure. By means of introduction, when I arrived here in July to help out, I noticed there were people requesting and people taking advantage of remote work with no particular standards. And given, the post-COVID world, municipal government does look differently on remote work than it ever did. Back in the original days, you never would think that you could do a job from a public sector job from remote. But there are situations where it either works for the employee or it works for the department head, and we wanted to put some guidelines because, as you know, without guidelines, any kind of employment decision like allowing remote work or not could tend to be discriminatory. So from a perspective of risk management and fairness in the workplace, we thought that we would propose this remote work policy. At the last meeting, we showed you 2 samples. The best way to get policies in municipal government is not to reinvent the wheel, so we showed you 2 from 2 different communities that I respect, and I've seen the policies work in those communities. So we're proposing tonight for you to look at the first version. It's a little bit longer than you may want it to be, but I think it covers every possible alternative that could happen. And I just want to say that, we don't have, obviously there are some departments like police, fire, library, DPW that can't really do remote work, right? Unless it's maybe an office position or something like that. So, we understand that not all positions would be eligible for this, but I do encourage, if employees have concerns or want to hear about the policy, that's why this meeting's televised, and that's why this meeting, this agenda gets posted. So if people want to weigh in or whatever, we hope that they will view this meeting and provide feedback. So you've had a chance to look at it.
I'm ready to go, Mary.
Good. Any questions or comments or?
I have several. In the on the purpose and scope, when it says special needs, that makes it sound almost ADA-like. And I'm wondering if there's just a better way to phrase that, because personal
Circumstances?
personal circumstances, I think would be better
Okay,
than
that's good.
needs. Ad hoc remote work. It says identified as occasional remote work. So can I say, I want to work from home all summer and I'll come back in the office in the fall? Occasional to me means, 1 week a month, I'd like to be able to work out of my home. Occasional, and I guess I know if there's an agreement and the employee would work it out with the supervisor. I just didn't know if that was opening a can of worms. Like this, you cannot take an in-office job and make it permanently ad hoc.
Yeah, stronger word.
Work from home.
A stronger word than occasional.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. But it should, maybe it's temporary, occasional remote work. So all of a sudden people aren't wanting their full-time positions to be from
Right.
home.
Well, I guess that question would be, so what if you worked from home every Wednesday? Is that that's occasional,
That's routine.
but it's, yeah, okay, so it's routine, so
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
all right.
I think this
Just wanna
is,
make-
you know, my power's out and my
Exactly.
electrician's coming. Can I
Right, I
work
need to
from
be here.
home until he gets here? Like, I think it's like a specific need.
So it's kind of,
Or
maybe, do we say
circumstance.
unscheduled, or
Well,
something?
no, because later on you say they can't do it without prior approval. And if your electricity's out, you call up the morning of and say, hey, Mary Beth, can I be out?
Yep.
So,
Maybe non-routine. You- 'cause you get
Non-routine.
routine, non-routine.
That's a good one.
remote work instead of occasional?
Well, because this one says, the one schedule is routine, so maybe this should say
Non-routine.
non-routine remote
I like
work or
that.
something like that.
I personally, if we're going to get into it, routine remote work and remote work, honestly, I think there should be one definition. I don't care what it's called. I just think what's the difference between routine remote work and remote work? It's remote work.
Yep,
And some of it will be routine and some won't be.
non-routine.
I personally would I would get rid of routine remote work and just keep remote work.
Okay.
My other big concern was data security. Personally, I would like to, if somebody's going to work from home, and I know this is an expense to the town, but they should be on a town computer. Because you don't know what's happening to that computer the rest of the time. So that was a little concerning to me, and I'd want our IT person to weigh in on that.
Just, I can't speak from, haven't been here in, 4 years, so I can't speak to what's gone on, but in the circumstances where we're discussing maybe employees are on FMLA or they're, needing to work from home, we've arranged for them to use a town laptop with
Right.
like a VPN where they remote into their desktop.
Yep, and that's what I do when I
Those are
work
the
from home.
ones that I've experienced, but I don't know if there's,
Yeah.
I don't know who's
The
out
other
there.
thing
We
is, I
have
mean.
quite a few, just to clarify, we do have numerous laptops because of COVID, and so pretty much, I want to say, almost every department that would be eligible would have them.
Personally,
But I don't know if you want to add that in here where you sort of make that stipulation that it shall be
gotta-
done on,
It's got to be down on the town computer.
Yep,
that might be better to do it, because I know we have the capabilities to be IT secure.
But
It's just we have to
still-
make sure we're not, I will say at the beginning of COVID, I was absolutely using my own laptop.
Oh, absolutely.
But we did all get, not all of us, but those of us who needed them, who
Yep.
might remote work, we got laptops and we have the VPN.
Now, in an instance of your example of, I have no electricity and my electrician's coming, they wouldn't have a laptop, so they would have to take a day off.
True.
Or they could come in, get approved by their supervisor and go home with the laptop. But, that's something that maybe or maybe not can be planned.
Well, if they didn't have electricity, they probably wouldn't have Wi-Fi.
I guess I
So
should have
maybe it's
said
a plumber.
heat, maybe your heat's not working.
Yeah, he's not working.
Okay,
So there should be loaners available for
Yeah,
people
nobody
that
should
don't
use their
have
own.
one. Agreed.
nobody should be able to use their personal equipment.
But you're right, how would you?
It was actually, from what we talked about last meeting, and I did take a look, so it was September of last year that this board decided that if it was ever going to be work from home during COVID, that it was always going to be a town-issued computer, that no one could use personal.
Okay, good memory. Thank you.
So we should-
That was,
on
no,
page
it's only because I looked it up. Don't give me that much credit. It was the electronic communications and
Yep.
usage policy that then spelt that out
So we should
in regards
refer
like
to that.
security and take things like that.
But we do have a section here, H, on page 6, that talks about employee-owned equipment.
Then
so
we've
might
got
wanna
we should
strike
just
that.
pull it.
Yep.
We should pull it.
Why don't we replace that with our what is it called? Equipment, technology, use?
Katie, what's that?
Electronic communications and usage policy,
Okay.
if it could be any longer, I know.
Okay. Supervisors shall use the following guidelines in selecting employees for remote work. It says the employee has completed any probation periods for his or her position or has demonstrated successful competency in the essential functions of his or her position. What about somebody who's on a performance plan?
See, I had a PIP, you got to.
If somebody's on a performance plan,
Oh, Scott's just joined us.
hey, Scott. If somebody's on a performance plan,
Personally, I would advise the supervisor not to grant any special permissions, because they have enough trouble adhering to the work during
Should
the
we put it
day.
in here, though?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, so that's on page 2.
Not
the
on a
same.
performance plan, okay.
Yep, and not be on a PIP.
Okay. Policy, the prior authorization, if we mandate only use of a computer, town computer, does this go out the door? Or does it still stay in? Because somebody doesn't take a routine laptop home every night.
Sometimes, some of us do.
Okay,
Some people don't have desktops, so they just
okay, then,
dock them.
Like, I always have a laptop at home just in case.
okay.
I mean,
Then without prior approval should stay in. You don't think we should designate how much prior? Like, do we require people to ask for time off 48 hours ahead of time? Should we put any?
I think you want flexibility, because like, what if you get a call that morning and, someone's situation is they need to come in, grab a laptop, and then work 2 hours later from home, I mean.
Okay.
I feel like there's sometimes you want to have some flexibility so that you can work with that person, especially if you need them. I mean, it's not always just to accommodate the employees. Sometimes we need
Okay.
the worker doing their
And
work.
maybe like if the employee already knows, like, on the 17th of this month, I need to work from home for 2 hours. So when at all possible, to give as much advance notice.
The other thing is,
I mean, do we want to add that? Sorry, something like,
Yeah.
is my,
with as much notice provided as
scheduled, or
possible.
something to the effect of, scheduled shall be planned as far in advance as possible.
Yep.
Recognizing there may be certain circumstances.
The other thing that a lot of employers, not mine, have mandated is that a person's remote workplace is their home. They can't be on a beach in St. John. Now, personally, I don't care where people work as long as they get the job done. But, is there any need to put, because it says the primary location of the remote work site must be stated in the remote work agreement, include whether it is a home office or elsewhere.
Well, what if you're working,
From Starbucks?
visiting your mom, and you're working at your mom's house, for the day? So I don't
Do you
know.
want to reserve the right for like the supervisor to inquire and be okay with it, or something? to
First, I think the work location needs to be approved by the supervisor. The other thing is, do we need to say, and I know it talks about this is all pertaining to Massachusetts law, but they should, it should be within the United States.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I can't work from Italy?
No.
Come on.
You actually, I hadn't even thought about that, because you do have state issues, like like we have a condo in New Hampshire, and if we work so many days in New Hampshire, we're subject to New Hampshire tax, and so that is it's even not just country, it is kind of state.
I don't know, that might be a
But, yeah,
little,
a little more complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
might
would
be. Now,
but I agree, US.
and it states in here that no cost of somebody working remote will be incurred by the town, correct?
Right. So people who want like a Wi-Fi stipend, things like that, we wouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing is workers' compensation. Standard workers' compensation practices apply, and employees are covered by applicable laws for illness or injury occurring during the course of scope of work. If injured while working remotely, the remote worker must report the injury. So if I'm working at my house and I fall down the flight of stairs, that shouldn't be a workers' comp.
Well, the company that represents us would do a whole determination of that. So it wouldn't be up to us or the employee, but
Okay.
I've seen situations where people are doing work-related things and been covered.
Yeah, but should they be?
That first sentence, though, on 3A is pretty clear that it would be covered, so you might want to watch that language. and
Maybe
see what
we'll
you're saying.
May be covered instead of
Yeah,
are.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, and the news crew's here.
And then just note at the bottom of that page 7D, it does talk a little bit about the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I mean, it's under workman's comp, but that's an interesting thing that
Yeah.
it says, even if you're in another state, so it's acknowledging you might be in another state, which we just talked about. So we might have to
No,
address that.
I almost see this as something, extreme. I'm the library director, and my library report is due this week, and my mother in Alabama is sick.
Totally fine.
So I'm going to finish my report from there. That's my remote work. So I can see how it might occur out of state, but,
Out of state is fine. I
yeah,
just,
but not like,
outside the United States, especially
not
if
in
they're
lieu of
VPN
vacation
in.
time. Yeah, to say like,
What
I'm,
if the mother lives in Italy?
Well, I can give you an example.
Then we all need to
When
go.
we travel internationally for work, the only people who get access internationally to our internal systems are the senior executives, just because if we're traveling, I mean, if somebody's based there full-time and, they can have it. We might just want to ask our IT folks about that.
okay.
Would there ever be a need for international for these roles? I wouldn't think so. So
Well,
Tracy, your company probably has the need for it, right?
Well, if you go
So-
over, say you and Christy and the kids go to Italy for a week, you work for the town and you're going to work 3 of those days, I would say
Right, I don't think there's a need, I don't think there's a work need for that, right?
somebody could ask.
Now, that should be vacation time if you're traveling for that
Right.
purpose.
Yeah.
It's not for town benefit.
Oh, I agree, but to me, there's no reason somebody should be working outside the US for the town. So let's just put it in there.
Anything else, Chris?
No, those were all mine.
Terry, what have you got?
I had a few of the same, but the other, this is just on page 3, C2. It just says that we may discontinue the remote work arrangement at any time and for any reason. It could also be for no reason. Do we have to provide a reason? I just feel like, so maybe we should word it that way?
At any time, period.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's always at the discretion of
Yep.
the supervisor anyway, so.
Good catch.
So and then on page 5, 2B, it just said, in-person business meetings shall not be held at the remote work site. What about a neutral site?
Like Starbucks.
Like Starbucks or something, just a thought. I don't know if it's,
The only concern there is if there's any confidentiality,
yeah.
but
And is there a reason to work at Starbucks versus actually coming into the office?
Right. I mean, there's no shortage of conference rooms that you can't meet in.
I can see needing to be home for family or whatnot, but I don't see why you would need to work at a Starbucks in Foxborough versus
Right.
coming into Foxborough.
Right.
I guess I was just thinking if it was more of an informal colleague meeting, there might be some flexibility, but any,
if town business is being conducted, it shouldn't be conducted in
Okay.
the public
Agreed.
sphere.
You have a cool meeting somewhere.
Scott, we did talk about people are not going to be allowed to use their own personal equipment to access town systems. It's going to have to be a town-issued laptop.
Because we
From an
already
IT
have
period.
an electronic communications and usage policy. We're going to reference that in this.
Okay.
Question, sorry, you weren't done.
I just have one more quick, and then, and that's on the actual, remote working agreement under hours of work. I just was confused at the terminology. It says such schedules must be reduced to writing. I just didn't understand. This was awkward to me. I didn't know what that meant.
Put in writing.
Yeah, put in writing. I think
Okay.
that's just a
Yeah.
poor
Just- it
wording
was-
error.
yeah.
What section is that?
It's on the agreement, hours of work,
Right, first page.
like
Oh,
right
I
in the
see
middle.
it. Yep, I see it.
Yep. And that's it. I'm good.
That is a weird word.
Yeah.
Is remote work allowed for department heads as well as employees in their department? And the reason I ask is, again, my company is very different, I get that. But for mandated back to office, if you're grade 18 or above, you have to be in the office 3 days a week. If you're under, it's only 2 days. Or doesn't it matter?
Well, it's town manager's discretion, so there might be situations where you think, okay, get your budget done today, you can work from home, particular department head, but not on, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we're not that high, we are hierarchical, but we're
Not
not that rigid,
Okay.
so I don't think, but. Who would approve the town manager's work from home?
Me. The Board of Selectmen. I had another question. And I know it says, here it says, the ROP is not an employee benefit, and it talks about it's gotta be in a collective bargaining agreement. Do we have to make a statement about like, because I don't know the details of the CBAs. Do we have to state like, this doesn't apply to the police, it doesn't apply to the fire, it doesn't apply to boom, just so it's clear as day?
Yeah, I think that there has to be some sort of a disclaimer, obviously, with that. For
And it
the,
does say not available to all town employees. You're
Yeah.
pretty much saying that right there.
so I think the groups that we would impact bargain it with would be the steelworker group, which are department heads and clerical. And the admins in each of those other departments are either within the steelworker schedule. They're not like in, admin office people aren't in the police contract.
Right.
Yeah.
Gary?
Okay. Scott, did you have anything to want to address?
No, nothing else.
Okay.
Do we feel this is strong enough? I'm just regroup the purpose and scope and is it strong enough to make clear that this is, and I know it says it, but is it to make clear that this isn't an automatic and that this isn't, I know it says it and right, but like now are people going to suddenly say, oh, great, we have a remote work policy, we can now, that's unique or it's not routine, something to that effect?
Well, I was going to address that in my-
Extenuating
my-
circumstances, yep.
My issues with the first paragraph, okay? It's boost efficiency in the use of space, reduce operational costs, lessen the environmental impact of vehicle. This should not be for the employee's benefit, period. This should not be a routine thing, so we keep referring to routine days off or working from home. It should never be. There's this thing in the taxpayer world saying, "Man, this is what employees have it made." It's out there, we all
Yep.
know that.
So it maybe is a management tool that may be used at the discretion of the department heads and/or town manager,
But it
period.
should be for the benefit of the town,
Right.
not for the employee because they don't have daycare on Fridays, they're gonna take every Friday off. Sorry, you don't
Yeah.
get that in the real
No, I
world.
completely agree, but, okay, so if I'm gonna work from home one day, is the benefit because the plumber's coming, or I have no heat, and I gotta wait for the workman, is the benefit to the town, and the answer might be yes to this, I'm allowed to work at home, thus I can be a productive employee on that day and still get my job done, even though I physically can't be in the office.
That would depend on who the employee is and what your position
But
is.
that's what you're thinking.
I'm thinking people are gonna try to abuse it for that
Yeah.
purpose. It is not a benefit, and it should not be for the employee's
I mean, maybe it should have something like extenuating circumstances right in the beginning, so that people know
And
it's.
I would expect a supervisor, department head, to acknowledge some families have some issues. Your child is sick, you gotta stay home, they can't go to school, they can't.
Right.
I can understand that, that's a rare
Yeah.
occurrence.
So you either use sick time, or if we really need you to get your budget done or whatever.
That's the
maybe you
difference,
can.
if we need you
Yep.
to do the work.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
Okay, it should not be a benefit, and that's what's gonna turn out to be. Everyone's gonna be requesting it. I need every Friday off, I got issues with babysitters,
Yeah, is this
Yep,
gonna
your
be a
benefit.
push or a pull? Are you guys pushing this out or to employees, or will it just sort of be in the background?
I mean, it'll get incorporated into the policy manual, but I just think we need some sort of a baseline, because some people are already doing it, and I'm not sure we're doing it fairly or equally.
More retroactive, in a way.
It's addressing something that hasn't been addressed. How is this working? You know, has there been any holes that you've seen in this one?
I've seen deals, like people have deals, right? I come here and people are like, yeah, I work from home on this day or this afternoon, or, and it's like, why?
and doesn't the taxpayer rightfully have the expectation to come in here and see the people they're paying for doing the job they're being hired to do?
I mean, especially if your job is customer facing, you should be here.
Especially,
Yeah.
yes.
I like the point you just made with the, stay at home. This home gets working at home or working remotely is if it's to the benefit of the town. Like, we need you to get your report done, or
Mm-hmm.
we need you to get your job done, not so you can stay home with an elderly.
I know a lot of people that work from home, they're engineers and they're that type of work, and they work from home, and they love it, because they don't have to put their pants on. They're sweatpants all day on their shorts. That's what they
Excuse
tell
me, I put my pants on every day.
So what about the first sentence? The remote work policy program is a management tool that may be used at the discretion of a supervisor to benefit the town. Something, I mean, along those lines.
Just that the second sentence then, and the first sentence in the second paragraph needs to be reworked then.
Yeah, we don't want to encourage the
Yeah.
use where it's mutually benefit.
Right, get rid of the mutual, yep, get rid of the
Maybe
whole
you just
sentence,
you
right.
don't say it at all.
Right.
You strike that whole first
But the
sentence?
second sentence in that second paragraph is great. It's not an employee benefit.
Well, maybe it's the remote work
Why don't you
program
why
is a
don't-
management tool that may be used at the discretion of the department supervisor to benefit, to period. The town of Foxborough encourages the use of RWP where it will be to the town's benefit. Period. It's not, and then period, the RWP is not an employee benefit.
I think we could just take that whole first
I agree.
sentence out of the second paragraph.
'Cause I don't know if
cross
the
it
town
out.
really does encourage it.
Yeah,
I think you just, yeah. And then-
This may be a little pedantic, it might be overload, but maybe in the actual remote work agreement, there should be a line in there that says, please indicate what the benefit to the town is on this, or something along that line. I don't like it. I don't know if that's the right wording, or, but
Yeah, I
something,
like that.
like a checkbox, or.
No, I like that. I
or
think that's
Have
great.
have them identify,
And the department supervisor should be able to
yeah.
state that same thing to a town manager, say, this is the reason I okayed it.
yep.
This is the benefit to the
The
town.
other thing, to Carrie's point, it says description of remote work schedule. I would get rid of every Monday, every other Monday, no more than 2 days per month, because that starts to sound like it's a benefit.
Schedule, yeah.
Cannot be a routine.
I like, I would say begin date, end date, I would remove if temp.
Might be hard to do if it's a health issue.
Yeah, but you could say, okay, it's gonna end at the end of December, and we can revisit it at that time, but it's not gonna go on in perpetuity.
Well, you could always say that the
You could extend it, but I'd like to have an end
department
date.
head has to review it on a
Yes.
bi-monthly basis or a bi-weekly, whatever you want to do.
Well, it says right here,
Yeah.
I would just get rid of if temporary, because it makes it sound like it's a permanent thing, and maybe it wouldn't be for a health
Right, I
thing.
mean, if somebody comes out, they're tested positive for COVID,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
okay, it's to the town's advantage to let them stay home.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't penalize them, they stay
Right.
home, and you don't know when the ending date would be.
No, but you don't want to write if temporary. Like, here's the thing, I call Paige and say, Paige, I've got to work from home the next 3 days, I
personal
tested
device.
positive. She would have to fill this out for me because I wasn't in here, and she would put, okay, 3 days. If 3 days came up and I'm like, I'm still testing positive, she'd be like, stay the heck home. I just think you need to put an end date, or people think it's an ongoing thing.
Yep.
For some, there might be exceptions where it is, or it has to go on for another week or something, but this whole thing, to your point, is like breathing like it's a right.
So we just noticed for the, for the form, the remote work agreement, equipment used for remote work, we should delete that whole column that says personal device. And employee-owned property and equipment section.
I would personally get rid of office furniture. And I don't even know if phone would be an option, so I'd probably get rid of that too. And just put computer,
I have
remote
seen
network
Well, you have to
access.
be able to
another.
get in touch with your supervisor.
I have seen people work from home, like, okay, I broke my leg, and my job is to answer the phone, and, we work in some
Do
office.
we give them a phone?
So we give them the phone, and
Okay,
we
fine.
say, we're putting on the website for people to call this number with the questions, and you
Okay.
can just stay home and take the notes with your broken leg today.
Did we already talk about under hours of work on the first page, is an approved flexible work schedule on file for this employee? Is that something where, sounds counter to what we've been talking about?
What page are you on?
On the front page of the agreement,
Oh,
under hours of work, is an approved flexible work schedule on file for this employee?
That's what I get for taking this from very liberal towns.
What did you say?
I stole this from a very liberal town.
That's what she gets for taking this from a liberal
Oh, I think we should get rid of that.
Yeah, take the whole paragraph out.
And what about regular and recurring? Did we already get that one? Did I miss that? Under remote work information, it says regular and recurring.
Yeah, we
I
just
missed that.
said,
Yeah, there is no regular and
yeah.
recurring.
Okay.
we're gonna have just begin and end date.
If it's recurring.
Yeah,
you're-
we're gonna
you're
get rid of
looking at
regular and
job ads.
recurring, they'll just be, it'll be temporary.
Which then it pops up because you have this, you know, when will this be reviewed? So it says monthly, quarterly, biannual, so it kind of feeds into that.
And then there's, one of these empty spaces can be benefit to the town. Or
Then if we
under
go to
performance.
pre-certification of remote work agreement, it says employee-owned property and equipment. That should be, it's the third one down.
Yep, we crossed that out.
And then at the top, reimbursement information, I would get rid of generally. The town of Foxborough does not reimburse the costs associated.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
And don't leave that opening.
Yep, get rid of the word generally. You can actually get rid of employee computer security too.
So are you going to be requiring all existing supervisors and department heads to retroactively go back and have anyone that's on a remote work agreement to complete this?
I think legally, you know, that's the best process to make sure that we're not discriminating against anybody. Like saying no to someone on this policy when someone else is out there doing it. They may be,
How many people we have now that are,
I mean, I'm just aware of a few, but to me, that's already
Few?
too many without,
So here's my other
this
question.
agreement only covers like 12 people. You're saying a few?
no, it would
Cover
cover,
everybody.
It would cover everybody who's not in the
Except-
CBA. And the
Yeah.
CBA is like
Everyone else is
police.
just-
Well, no, the steel workers it
We
would
would-
cover.
we would,
We would impact
we
bargain. it
would
with
impact bargain it with them to do that.
I was just gonna think of something. What was your question? A few people are doing it now? Oh.
Yeah, how many are doing
So
it?
he leads one department, I lead another. He's more strict and I'm more loose. How do we ensure, we're worried about risk, right? How do we ensure that this is being applied equally across every department?
Well, I think you're using either HR or the town manager as a final filter for,
Do we need to state that it needs to be,
I think there is a
I
place.
personally think it needs to be approved by either the HR manager or the assistant or the town manager to ensure consistency across the
Yeah,
departments.
I mean, it says it goes on file with HR, so I think that there must be
Well, here
Just
it's
on
under
signature approval.
employee, supervisor, department manager, if different, and human resources. So under the sign, that the remote work agreement gets signed. So,
I think it's gotta be approved by a supervisor and either HR manager slash assistant town manager slash town manager. Just because Gary says yes to somebody doesn't mean, you may look at it and be like, no, this is against our.
yeah. Or he might not be aware that we just told another employee in another department
Exactly.
that they couldn't, and it looks discriminatory.
So it's got to be
Yeah.
approved by a,
Yeah.
yeah.
This is a perfect form that could go on our electronic forms, wouldn't it? With a workflow.
Anything else to add? Tracy or Carrie?
I'm kind of back where you are, a few. So I take it the people are gonna be told that.
No, I mean, there could be people who are under in a collective bargaining agreement that are being allowed to do it occasionally, and there's no language that says
Right.
it, so we need something.
But if there is somebody who's not in a CBA who's doing it now, their ability to do it gets revisited through this policy.
Yeah, we're gonna have to, just for fairness' sake. Yeah.
Good luck with that one.
I didn't-
Trying to revisit anything in CBA. Yeah, good luck.
It's definitely an issue in the business world. I just don't know how it is, and In the town environment.
You know, it's a whole new thing, because it never used to happen until COVID in municipal world. You know, you were not anybody who could ever work from home.
Because nobody would even consider it. They wouldn't even ask.
Yep.
Do you think it's being abused, just in general?
No, nah. I mean, it's just management styles, like you say. Some people,
In the real world, it's being abused, without a doubt.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's human nature.
yeah.
And my company definitely benefits from me working home. They get many more hours out of me because of it.
In a lot of cases, that's what happens, yeah.
Good?
Yeah, that's really helpful feedback.
Sorry, I was very.
Katie, you got that right?
So you have all the
Yeah,
changes,
that,
do we vote, subject to the changes we've suggested?
Yeah, we can, we took a lot of notes. You did,
I
right?
feel like we might want to,
Anna's wearing-
Maybe we'll throw one more draft out.
probably,
Yeah.
I'd like
back
to see
again.
it one more
Yeah.
time.
There's a lot of changes.
I don't think we need to rush it to get it.
No.
One of our things is a New York Giants hat on. No, I'm kidding. Anything else you need? from
No,
our-
and I would, because it's an open meeting, encourage employees to attend a meeting to discuss this if they have concerns or questions and they feel like they're not being represented, so that's what.
Maybe
this-
the next one, we can somehow, maybe Katie can get word out.
Yeah.
Or Paige, or Mary Beth, you.
Yep,
Yeah, we'll let folks know. I mean, I haven't mentioned it in ops meetings, but that's a smaller group, so perhaps we let the general population know this is being considered and kind of speak now or forever hold your peace.
Yeah, I like it.
and then the FMLA policy is going to the board.
The select board, yeah.
The select board for adoption that we approved here. You weren't at that meeting.
month, yep.
We did an
Missed that.
FMLA
What was that?
policy.
What policy?
FMLA.
Oh, okay.
It just follows the federal law,
Yeah,
clarifies
it's
it, but
very,
it did,
we
did
never
it-
had a procedure. It wasn't being done uniformly.
You accomplished a lot in your absence.
Well, most
And we did impact bargain it with the Steelworkers Union, so they've had no issues with it, so it's going forward Tuesday night to the select board.
Is our next meeting, we'll review the changes made to this one in the cell phone policy?
No, cell phone
I
policy,
wasn't,
that's already done.
because,
What was the other one that you said we're only gonna do one on? We're supposed to do two tonight? Katie, do you
oh
remember?
no, we gave you two versions of a
Okay.
remote work policy, but we kind of picked this one as most likely to succeed here. So that's why,
Cell phone policy is just a reminder what we approved.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Questioning what we.
one of the things I suggested, but I'm not going to be here long enough to follow through with it, is to have some sort of a hiring policy, which we don't have.
Could you potentially, before you exit the building, give us some examples of good ones, so we're not reinventing the wheel?
Yep.
Awesome. Not that we want you to leave anytime soon.
No, I'm going to come back and visit and one more time after that, so maybe we'll coincide it with the meeting. But yeah, I think I'll draft some kind of a hiring policy before I leave.
And what you're leaning away from the cell phone policy? Do you want to explain?
I know, I haven't really even found out, like, why do we have it? Because it seems like it's covered in some of our other policies. So I wasn't sure what I missed what was the motivation for putting this forward.
Do you remember?
We worked on this with you.
The cell phone policy? Way
I
back
think,
when?
I think it was in discussion connected to, harassment and putting town information out there and all that stuff. I think that's where a lot
I
of
feel like it was with Mike Johns.
I think it was with Mike John.
Yeah, I don't remember that. We did like 10 policies.
I don't
We had-
remember cell with Mary Beth.
Yeah, I don't remember the motivation for that. And I would think it's covered in your electronic communications policy,
Yeah.
because that covers tablets, phones, computers,
My
social
big thing is
media.
just
Yeah.
don't drive and be on the phone.
I mean, unless it's something operational, like who gets a cell phone, then that shouldn't have to come to your board. Like, that's operational. So I don't know what the motivation for the cell phone policy is. If it's
Should we pull it out?
usage or, yeah, we should look at it.
We'll probably be doing that with our next HR director, because Mary Beth's days are numbered.
Yeah. I'm going to come back to orient the new person at some point. I'm just traveling for a bit, so
Have we hired a person?
Nope.
Okay,
we're this close.
you good?
Do we have a list of meetings going
No,
forward?
nothing set.
Okay.
Yeah, we do them whenever they need us, but we get
okay.
ample
Okay.
warning. Katie runs it by us from
Okay.
a scheduling
You guys
standpoint.
basically decide, like, a few dates are thrown out, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't happen.
Okay.
It's very flexible.
But is it usually on a Tuesday night? Is that what Tuesday's the
Usually on a
best time?
Tuesday and starts at 5:30.
I like that.
Me too.
That was always for Mary Beth's convenience, because she had to be here for the selectmen's meeting at the same time.
Yes,
So it was always the same
thank you.
night.
It works
All
great, because
about
I have to
me.
be here anyway, and, you know,
Yeah.
I'm out tomorrow night, so it's nice to have a night where it's combined into work.
I have a library trustee meeting tonight.
If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Tracy, I.
Thank you,
Like
Katie.
Scott has left us.
Thank you. Thank you.